The ANC's National Conference starts at the Nasrec Expo Centre in Johannesburg on Friday, so we're less than a week away. In the run-up to that conference, we're asking what role will integrity play? Candidates can still be nominated from the floor, but for now there are two presidential candidates, Cyril Ramaphosa and Zweli Mkhize, and both have been subjected to probes by the Integrity Commission of the ANC. The Integrity Committee report on Phala Phala, the farm saga, has been deferred by the National Executive Committee. It will now be tabled only at the conference. But even before the conference starts, the expert panel report on Phala Phala has been released, and that will be voted on in Parliament on Tuesday. To discuss, we're joined by political analyst on the line, Sandile Swana. Sandile, thank you for being with us as always. So firstly, could Tuesday be interesting? Now, technically, MPs are going to vote on whether or not to adopt the expert panel report. They probably won't because it's going, Cyril Ramaphosa, the president, is taking it on review. ANC members have been told not to vote for that for a bigger process. But could we see any dissent within ANC ranks at all?
Yes, there is dissent that is brewing. First of all, the panel report, according to the legal opinion issued by the legal advisors to Parliament, is clear that Parliament is able to discuss and vote on the panel report. So that is not an obstacle to the process going forward, according to the legal opinion. So secondly, Mandase has announced that they are aware that there are a number, I think more than 30 or so, of ANC MPs who publicly declared in their circles, of course, that they would vote together with those who say the process must go ahead, so who would defy the ANC in Parliament.
And it's not a secret ballot, so will we know who these ANC members are?
We will know, and it's not new. I mean, the likes of Derek Ganekom and others have voted against the ANC instructions before, especially during the Zuma era, openly so, and were protected. However, this time Mandase has said that those who vote in favor, who vote with their consciences, who follow their consciences, who support the parliamentary inquiry for impeachment purposes, will be disciplined by the ANC. So there is a panic regarding dissent, and there is grounds for dissent in the ANC. There's a groundswell of dissent that might just be enough to give the opposition parties what they need.
What about cabinet members? Because there's been a lot of talk about cabinet members maybe seen to be close to the president, but they are not going to come in as members of the National Executive Committee. They're not even on the list that will be whittled down. The likes of Pravin Gordhan, Ibrahim Patel. Do you think we could see one of them voting with their conscience?
I don't think that is well, in a way, there is a sense that there are rewards of supporting the president. But people like Pravin may well be saying to themselves that they are at the end of their careers in South Africa. They might be looking for diplomatic posts or even posting in World Banks and elsewhere. Maybe they are expired in terms of the ANC careers as things stand. So I doubt that that is going to be a positive factor. It's a short period before the next election anyway.
All right, then let's move to the National Conference. So we'll watch Tuesday very closely. Presumably the president will get through that. Then we go to National Conference. The city press is saying that it could be an explosive start because now the Integrity Committee will table the reports on Phala Phala as well as that pertaining to Zweli Mkhize and Digital Vibes. How important will that be if it sets the tone for the conference?
The integrity report is likely to present problems similar to those that the panel, Section 89 panel had, which is that the details around Phala Phala will be lacking. Because Ramaphosa would have said to them that he has been asked not to make statements, not to disclose the details. So they would be unable to make a conclusive decision, let alone the fact that in the first place it's the NEC that is supposed to make the final decision. On top of that, now they've referred it to the branches. The significance of this is that it may well be that those who are dissatisfied with the conduct around the Phala Phala matter may eventually break down the conference and want to walk out of the conference.
Let's watch and see. But I mean, Phala Phala will be there. Do you agree with our analyst yesterday? You said that the NEC should have dealt with it. He said that the NEC has actually been derelict in its duties by not dealing with this, because how do you deal with something as important as this report and get some sort of consensus and debate around it with so many candidates like you have at a national conference?
Yes, there is a degree of dereliction of duty. They want something that has got a clear, defined process, by the way. Their process says that those reports must be submitted to the NEC and the final decision must be made at the NEC. Now they want, in the hope that they will be able to whip up ignorant and popular support so that Ramaphosa can win the vote, not win the moral debate or the legal debate, just win the vote that his matter must not be considered further. That's basically where we are. And in both cases, whether the so-called success in Parliament or success at the conference, it doesn't matter, because Phala Phala will not die down and the opposition parties will pursue it and use it to campaign for 2024.
And of course, we've seen rumblings about the NEC list, pushback from the likes of Bathabile Dlamini, who has been disqualified from standing, even though she's been put forward. How much of a risk is that to the conference?
I mean, that is a build-up for a conference that is going to break down. I'll make an illustration of this. Bathabile Dlamini, people like Bathabile Dlamini, their convictions were during some of them were during the Mbeki era, in the early days, the Travel Gate scandal. They were still allowed to continue to occupy senior offices right through. So these people who are being penalized now are people who had those records for decades, criminal records for decades, and they were not penalized in any way. They were admitted, and now there's a change all of a sudden, and this change is announced days before the conference, that they must be excluded, and so on and so forth. So those are issues that are going to cause the conference to break down.
All right, so you think that there's a high possibility that this conference won't conclude in the coming days? It's set to kick off on Friday.
That is exactly what I'm saying. If people insist with this type of harsh decisions against certain members and wishy-washy decisions against certain members, that is going to cause the conference to break down.
Sure. Finally, Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma and Lindiwe Sisulu were presidential hopefuls, the two female candidates that seem to be out of the race. But is there any potential for them to return, given what's happened around Phala Phala?
I think so. Bear in mind that these things are about shifting alliances. You will remember that Kosatu said they are not endorsing any specific candidate. I'm told that Mashatile said he's not endorsing any candidate. So there are people who carry a lot of votes who are not coming in favor of anyone. So there could be candidates who may still come from the floor and win the day.
All right, you are setting up a very interesting upcoming conference. Sandile Swana, political analyst, saying it could even break down given the pushback and some of the fights breaking out about eligibility for positions, etc.